conversation around employment has often centered on the urgent need to create more jobs and to address youth unemployment and underemployment. However, as the economy evolves and new industries emerge, another critical question has come to the fore. Are we placing enough emphasis on the quality of the jobs that are being created? Well, today on the show, we plan to answer that and other questions on Lead Story, because Lead Story starts now. Welcome to Lead Story. I'm Nika Lewis, and if you watch the program often, you'd notice that I stole George's line right there during the introduction. And in case you missed it, we are talking about job creation versus job quality. Where should the focus be? To set the context of the discussion, we've prepared a piece for you.
Jamaica's unemployment rate has fallen to the lowest it has ever been, just 3.5% as of late 2024. That means more people are working now than ever before, and that's good news for many Jamaican families. Since 2016, the government says over 250,000 new jobs have been created. There's also been a big drop in youth unemployment from 32% to just 11%. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has called this a sign of economic progress. But while more Jamaicans are working, there's a problem. Not all of the jobs are high quality or well-paying for the current cost of living in the country. Caribbean Policy Research Institute, CAPRI, says a lot of the new jobs are in low-paying sectors like construction and call centers, also known as BPOs. These jobs don't always offer long-term security, good pay, or opportunities to grow. They also say that Jamaica's productivity, or how much value each worker produces, isn't growing as fast as the number of people working. That means even though more people are on the job, the country isn't earning much more from their work. Another concern is that about 1/3 of workers are still in the informal economy, meaning they're working without contracts, benefits, or paying taxes. That can make it harder for people to get loans, pensions, or job protections. To fix this, experts say Jamaica needs to focus not just on creating jobs, but creating better jobs. This includes investing in education and training so more people can work in areas like technology, clean energy, and the creative industries, fields that pay better and help the economy grow stronger. The government has promised to work on this by improving skills training and changing school programs to match what industries need. So while it's great that more Jamaicans are working, the next big step is ensuring that those jobs lead to better lives and a stronger economy for everyone. We discuss on Lead Story. Courtney Lewis for Lead Story.
Well, there is so much to talk about, but not before this break. So, more Lead Story in a moment.
All your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. We've got everything, stocking top brands like CNC, Philips, and Allen Bradley. We guarantee quality and reliability. Shop with us and save with even free island-wide delivery. Conditions apply. Visit us at Shop 8 Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10. Call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in electrical business.
Millions of people are attacked by harmful mouth bacteria. The root cause of bad breath, gum problems, cavities, plaque, and tartar. That's why Colgate combined the best science and technology in Colgate Total. Unlike others, its superior formula fights bacteria and creates a powerful protective barrier for up to 24 hours to prevent them from coming back. Take control of your oral health with Colgate Total.
Every child deserves a home filled with love. When hope meets heart, a new journey begins.
Welcome home, David.
Welcome, David. Make it your own.
Family is built on moments shared.
Go, David, yes!
Every smile and every shared moment connects us with a brighter future. Here, you're not just welcomed, you're family. Foster hope, foster love, foster a child today. Contact the CPFSA for more information.
Welcome back to Lead Story. We're talking about the balance between job creation, increasing the number of employment opportunities, and job quality, ensuring that those jobs offer fair wages, job security, social protection, and opportunities for upward mobility. My guests this evening are Helene Davis-White, trade union activist, and Wendell Ivey, a researcher. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Indeed. Helene, of course, ladies first, so I'll start with you. Mrs. Davis-White, from your experience in the trade union movement, how would you describe the current state of job quality in Jamaica, especially in the public sector?
I think the public sector is not as bad as the private sector, I believe, because the public sector tends to have standards that are established, and jobs have to meet particular standards in the public sector. So and it's a little bit more organized, I believe, in the public sector than in the private sector. In the private sector, you will find that, and this is what came out of some research that was done that showed, even in respect of the gender dimension, that you could have jobs in this that are doing basically the same thing, and because of it, the job may be held by a woman as against a man, you will find different rates of pay and even conditions of work. And so we find that does not happen as much in the public sector. Nonetheless, though, in terms of what is happening generally, what we have found is that whilst we have gotten this information that has been coming in about unemployment being reduced, and this has been over time, what we have found is that in many instances, people are actually opting out of the labor market, and so you have this notion as to whether people are actively seeking jobs. That's something that always comes up, and both political parties, dependent on whether they are in government or in opposition, will question the figures about employment, whether it's actually increasing or decreasing unemployment. Sorry.
I mean, when you mention opting out to do what? Just to not be in it full stop, or they're trying to find other ways to take care of themselves?
Well, what we have found, and particularly since the pandemic, is that a lot of younger persons are going into areas where they are now, making their own jobs, so to speak. And so they're not going into direct employment, many of the young persons. And so, they may be undercounted in the figures when they are actually looking at unemployment, we believe. And then when you look at the quality of the jobs as well, that's an issue because a lot of the growth areas are in areas where we do not believe that the ILO concept of decent work is actually being maintained. So you have jobs that persons actually receive pay, but in terms of the pay that they receive and the conditions under which they work, they are not considered to be decent jobs in the context of the definition of the International Labour Organization. And so that also becomes a problem. And if you have persons who are employed in jobs that don't allow them to partake in economic development the way they should, in social development the way that they should, then regardless of whether you have a large section of the population counted as being employed, you will not see the spin-off results that one would expect to see if we have that many persons employed in the population.
I want to bring in Mr. Ivy because based on your research, Mr. Ivy, has Jamaica's labor force or labor market evolved any at all over the last decade in terms of job creation and job quality?
Yes, I think as it relates to the quantity of the jobs, that has really evolved. If you look at in the early 2010s, going up to 2013, 2014, and compared to now, you can see that the unemployment rate at that time was around double figures. And now we're at single figures, which means that a lot of people has actually come into the labor force. As it relates to the quality now, that's another issue. That's another story. Because even though there are more jobs, so if one sector, for example, the global services sector by itself has added close to 66,000 or 62,000 jobs to the economy. But at the same time, if you looked at what the productivity is, we can see that the productivity has been declining. Now, to get a real understanding to this situation that we're speaking of, we would have to go back into the history and look at the 70s, look at the 80s, the 90s, coming up to see that transition and try to understand where Jamaica is going in terms of quality and quantity of jobs. So now, in 1976, Jamaica's productivity, and productivity here is simple, how much output in monetary terms one person creates, an employed person, right? So for example, to say this another way,
yes,
we are working 5 hours and we're making patties. Within my 5 hours, within my 5 hours, I can make 5 patties. And within the same 5 hours, you make 2 patties. So if you should sell those patties, I would make more money than you because I made more patty given that the prices are the same. So if we look at the product.
All right, seems we're losing Mr. Ivy.
Over time, we realize that while employment.
Mr. Ivy, we've lost Mr. Ivy, but we're gonna just segue on that note. We're gonna take the break, make some way for more Mr. Ivy and Ms. Helene Davis White when we get back. Stay with us.
Join my private room. Only $1,000 for a grand time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going to believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that.
Yes, me go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today, no longer. Then no me face that. We never make no record, I beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust. They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams.
Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
Excuse me, that looks delicious. Where did you get that pizza?
Pizza, please. Best pizza in town.
Pizza Please, the widest variety of pizzas in Jamaica. Grab a slice or order a whole pie. Find us at 4 locations across Kingston and Ocho Rios and at pizzapleaseja.com. Pizza Please, Italian pizzas, Jamaican flavors.
If you truly don't have faith in me, then I promise you it's over. I'm going to put an end to this nonsense once and for all.
I will not rest until that girl is dead. I'm still going to kill her tonight, no matter what.
Here is your court notice.
Who's the letter from?
Sagar just sent me a notice to get Krishna's custody.
Ganga.
Brought to you by
Hyundai or Hyundai.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winford Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Welcome back to Lead Story. Just out of the break, I understand sections of the corporate area have been inundated because we had some heavy showers. And so we're talking unemployment or employment in Jamaica, and we have trade unionist Helene Davis White as well as researcher Wendell Ivey. Now, Mr. Ivey was sharing with us some of the insights from his recent paper into the kinds of work and the conditions of these work that we've been seeing over the last decade in Jamaica. So we wanted to know what sectors were growing, what was driving the growth, and if they were sustainable or well-paying jobs. Mr. Ivey?
One of the most impressive sectors, and even in the COVID-19 pandemic, that sector did not even register negative growth, was the real estate and other business services. In terms of employment, that sector was the only sector of all sectors in the economy that didn't experience any growth. So you have growth in construction, growth in agriculture. So those are some of the sectors that we see some growth.
But what does it mean for real estate then, if it's not growing even beyond?
No.
What do you mean?
So real estate, I'm saying it did not see a decline, meaning that in the COVID-19 pandemic, when all other sectors were experiencing negative growth, that sector actually grew within that time. And it has continued to grow even after the pandemic, even though the growth has slowed down.
So infrastructure, housing is critical in Jamaica. Is it akin to what's happening globally or just in the region, just in Jamaica? What did you see against that?
That was what was happening in Jamaica, because what happened was that, for example, when you look at in the COVID-19 pandemic, you realize that Jamaica had the COVID-19 pandemic started in December across the globe, but our first recorded case, our confirmed case, was in March. So while the rest of the world was actually going down, Jamaica had time to actually prepare themselves in order to, especially as it relates to the GSS sector. So that in that sector now, if you look at that sector, you realize that that sector grew tremendously, and that actually help the real estate sector because it is a subsector of the real estate sector. So that is actually what drove that overall industry. If you look at the data, looking at the Statistical Institute from the Statistical Institute of Jamaica.
And the GSS, are we talking about the BPOs? Well, formerly the BPOs.
Yes, the global services sector. So it's not only BPOs that is in that sector. So that's also business process outsourcing, but you have knowledge processing outsourcing. And when you think of the job quality, people have complained that, hey, this is a sector that is, low paying jobs and stuff like that. But they are trying to raise their quality by going into knowledge processing, which will pay more as you, to increase the livelihoods of those persons to actually develop the skills and enter into that sector.
I mean, I'm happy that you touched on the knowledge processing, because we've been hearing so many complaints and criticism of the fact that despite there is the lowest unemployment recorded rate, we are still not necessarily getting the kind of pay, the kind of results that we'd want to see across the board in society. People are just seemingly not overall satisfied in some cases with the jobs that they're getting. I wish Helene was back with us. Is she back with us yet? Perhaps. Yes.
Yes, I'm seeing her.
Perfect. So, Helene, I want to know, how does the informal economy affect Jamaica's ability to improve overall job quality, and what can the unions do to advocate for these workers?
Well, the informal economy is the space where, services particularly are provided, and where the sector is not organized in a fashion that even allows it to be counted in a lot of our data, because a lot of the statistics that we speak of, there have to be very good guesstimates about the size of the informal sector. And from all accounts, the informal sector is growing and is thriving in Jamaica. And the problem that we have with the informal sector is that not only do you have problems in terms of being able to capture data to allow for proper planning and so on in terms of our economy, but you have persons who are employed who very often are basically living on the fringes, and who are not able to access certain benefits and resources. And so from the point of view of the unions, the difficulty we have in actually unionizing persons in the informal sector is that you have in the informal sector persons who are employed to small employers, and you don't have that many persons who are employed. Sometimes it's one person or two persons who are employed, and the ability to be able to even measure the growth of the particular company and organization it becomes very difficult. And so I know as unions we were involved in a project funded through the ILO, which was really about bringing persons from the informal sector into the formal sector. One of the things that we found, a lot of the reasons why persons opted to remain in the informal sector is that they would not be paying certain statutory obligations and so on. And for that reason, they preferred to remain in the informal sector. But what we have been trying to do as unions is to bring more persons into the formal sector, because we believe that we redound to the benefit of the workforce generally, because then we can now speak about really whether persons are actually being employed in decent jobs, the concept that I spoke of before about decent work. Because for us as trade unionists, it is not just about the job, it's about whether the job is providing the kind of opportunities in terms of good pay, social protection, so they have access to workplace unemployment benefits and health insurance and all these other things that yes. if we do not have that, then it means that we would not be actually, realizing one of the goals, the Sustainable Development Goals. I think it is Goal 8, which speaks about decent work and economic growth.
I want to bring in back Mr. Ivy, because looking ahead, what would a truly balanced employment landscape look like for Jamaican workers, and how do we get there? You have 30 seconds, Mr. Ivy.
The answer is short. It's quick. It is to improve productivity in Jamaica. Once we have increased productivity, then all of that can happen. Because of the reduction in productivity over the time, that's why you find that a lot of people migrate. But when they do migrate, however, they send back remittances that many people in Jamaica use to maintain their livelihoods, which is also linked to what Eileen was saying earlier, that people opt out of the labor force. And because of remittances, that is one of the reasons why they actually opt out, because that acts as a cushion for them. And we have to remember that even though remittances are what they use for their daily consumption, many people receive items from overseas in terms of barrels at least once per year, which includes other daily living items. So improving productivity, that is the key to the way.
That's the future of the Jamaican workforce, if we're going to improve conditions here. But thank you so much. That was researcher Mr. Wendell Ivy and trade unionist Helene Davis-White. That's all the time we have this evening, but don't go anywhere. The news is next, and the lead story Prime with George Davis comes right after at 8 o'clock.
So, I'm sure you took her to a doctor, and what did he say?
He said that she had a hole in her heart. She's a blue baby.
I thought I would find my papa, but I didn't. I found Uncle John.